But wait, just before you fully make up your mind to move to Alberta, you also need to consider that most new immigrants, especially the first-time home buyers, are completely wiped out of the Toronto. And this can't be a deciding factor when you're coming to Canada, and you shouldn't just... What's up YouTube, it's Shivansh here, welcome back to my channel. If you guys have been following my channel, then you must be aware that I was in Alberta just last month, and that's when I had created this video. Today we are at University of Alberta in Edmonton, and if you don't already know this, I did my bachelor's in engineering from University of Alberta, so I've spent 4 years of my life at this very campus. And now I'm back in Toronto, but I must say that I still have a little bit of a hangover from my Alberta trip, especially at this time when the inflation is very high pretty much all over the world and the living expenses in Canada are through the roof. So I thought this would be the perfect time to create a video about should you move to Alberta in 2023 and beyond or not, because I know a lot of people who have either recently moved from cities like Toronto or Vancouver to cities like Edmonton or Calgary in Alberta, or people who are actually seriously considering moving to Alberta in the near future. So today's video is going to be all about this topic, whether moving to Alberta is right for you or not, and I also try to clear some of the misconceptions that you might have about Alberta, because I've lived there for 4 years of my life before moving to Toronto, so I can give you some genuine feedback based on my personal experience. But before we do that, please make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more such videos about studying and working in Canada and just life in Canada in general, because if you like and share this video, then YouTube will show this video to a lot more number of people, and that will greatly help my channel. So please make sure to do that. And with that being said, let's start this video. Alright, so let's start with the thing about Alberta that bothers most people, and that is the weather. We've all heard that it is very cold in Alberta. It snows for 10 months straight and the temperatures are so extreme that it is very difficult to survive there. But these are just some of the misconceptions. Yes, it does get cold in Alberta. The temperature does drop to minus 30 degrees in the peak winter, but it's not that it is unbearable, and it's not that in Toronto it's not cold at all. During the peak winters, the temperature in Toronto can actually drop to minus 25 degrees, but the difference is that in Toronto those extreme winter days might only last for 5 to 10 days, but if you go to Calgary or Edmonton, you might witness those extreme winter days of minus 30 degrees for 2 to 3 weeks, which is definitely a lot longer. So you will feel equally cold in both these cases. Similarly, it snows maybe for a couple of months extra in Alberta as compared to the Toronto region, but honestly it's not that bad, and this can't be a deciding factor when you're coming to Canada, and you shouldn't just reject Alberta just because it is slightly colder or that the winters are slightly longer in Alberta as compared to Toronto. People live there, and I've also lived there for 4 years, and eventually you get used to the cold and to the winter. And also Edmonton and Calgary are actually one of the sunniest cities in Canada, so you get a lot more sunlight in Alberta, in Edmonton and Calgary as compared to all the other cities in Canada, especially during the winter months, so it's not all bad. Alright, so now that you know about the weather situation in Alberta, let's move on to some of the more important things. And if you are actually seriously considering moving to Alberta, then the sixth point is actually going to be extremely important for you, so don't miss it and make sure to watch this video till the very end. Now let's talk about the quality of education in Alberta. We all know that a lot of international students, or most international students, prefer to go to colleges and universities in Ontario or in BC. But let me tell you that the quality of education offered at universities and colleges in Alberta is actually at par with those in Ontario or BC or other top schools of the world. And I know this firsthand because I've studied at University of Alberta, and I can say that the quality of education that you'll get there, the infrastructure that it offers, and the exposure that you get when you study at University of Alberta is actually comparable to that of University of Toronto or UBC. And the same thing goes for other educational institutes and colleges in Alberta such as NAIT or SAIT or University of Calgary, McEwan University, etc. And I personally feel that the experience that you will get at these colleges in Alberta is actually slightly better and more wholesome, because these colleges have people coming in from all over the world, unlike some of the popular colleges in Ontario or in BC, where the majority of students will be from India, so you won't really get to experience that diversity that Canada has to offer. And you get all of this at a much more affordable price as compared to Toronto or Vancouver, and that's why you should definitely consider studying in Alberta if you are planning to come here and study as an international student. Now this next point is also actually very important for all those of us who live in Ontario or BC or any of the other provinces that have a higher sales tax. If you don't already know this, the GST or the sales tax in Alberta is only 5%, and if you compare that to Ontario, you have to pay the GST plus you also have to pay the provincial tax, and because of this your total sales tax or the harmonized sales tax or HST becomes as high as 13%. So whether you want to buy a coffee from Tim Hortons or purchase a car in Canada, you will have to pay just 5% tax in Alberta. But in Ontario, for the exact same thing, you will have to pay a tax of 13%. Now, although it doesn't feel too bad in your day-to-day life when you're just spending money on food or groceries or just small everyday items, but this amount definitely adds up over time, and during your lifetime, this amount will become a huge portion of your total expenditure. And it is especially painful when you have to make a big purchase in your life. For example, if you have to buy a phone or a laptop, you have to purchase a car or even a house. Because when you are dealing with thousands of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in case of buying a house, then this 8% difference quickly becomes a huge amount, and that's exactly when it hurts the most. But if you live in Alberta, then you will save this 8% on every single purchase that you make, whether it is a small purchase or a big purchase like buying a house. So at the end of the day, you definitely get to keep a much bigger chunk of your income, and you can actually save all that money. And I know that when you are young, when you're just in college or just out of college, these things don't really matter that much. Taxes are pretty much the last thing that you can think of. But as you grow older, you will realize that taxes are actually a very significant part of all our lives, and they constitute a huge portion of your salary in terms of the income tax that you have to pay and also the sales tax that you have to pay for all the purchases that you make. So yeah, taxes are actually a very big part of our lives, and it is definitely something that you should consider if you're planning to move to Canada or if you're specifically trying to see which province is going to be the right one for you. And similarly, houses or real estate is also actually much cheaper in Alberta as compared to Ontario or BC. And this difference is so huge that the type of property that you'll be able to afford or the lifestyle that you'll be able to afford in Alberta is poles apart from what you can actually afford with the same amount of salary in Ontario or in BC. Now, for perspective, a detached house in Calgary might cost you around $500,000, and if you want to buy a similar looking house or a similar size of house in Toronto or in the GTA market, then it might cost you anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million, which is just crazy. And most new immigrants, especially the first-time home buyers, are completely wiped out of the Toronto or the Vancouver real estate market because they just can't afford to buy a decent-sized house or even a one-bedroom condo in these cities, because these cities are just so expensive and they just can't afford it. And in some cases, even the combined salary of two people, let's say a husband and a wife, is still not enough to buy a property in and around these major cities. And this is one of the major reasons why a lot of people from GTA region and Vancouver region are actually moving to Alberta, especially the ones who have a family or who are planning to raise a family. And similar to taxes, as you grow older, housing affordability, especially for the first-time home buyers, is also a very big factor to consider if you're planning to move to a different province or when you're deciding which province is going to be the best one for you. And that's why, at least at this point, it might make a lot of sense for a lot of people to actually move to Alberta and not continue living in these bigger cities like Toronto or Vancouver. Now, aside from all these money-related things, another very important factor to consider when deciding to move to a different province is the quality of life that this new place has to offer. Now, it should be no surprise to you that Alberta has the same quality of life, if not better, as compared to some of the other popular provinces of Canada. You'll be able to get the same brands, the same facilities, same infrastructure, similar food and restaurants, a good public transportation system, good healthcare and education system, etc. And that's the beauty of a developed nation like Canada, because even though Alberta is not the most populous province or the most popular province either, it is still at par with any of the other popular provinces or cities of Canada in terms of the quality of life that it offers. And some people might even find Alberta to be a lot better, because I think the life in Alberta is a lot more relaxed as compared to some of the other cities in Canada, and there is less population, so there's less crowd everywhere. There is more natural beauty around the major cities of Alberta. Whether you want to trek through the Rocky Mountains or drive through the national parks, you will definitely feel a lot closer to the nature in Alberta as compared to some of the other major cities of Canada, which might feel like a concrete jungle to a lot of people as compared to Alberta. But wait, just before you fully make up your mind to move to Alberta, you also need to consider this one last factor, and I think this is one of the most important factors when deciding whether you want to move to Alberta or live in a different province or not, and that is the job opportunities and the career opportunities that Alberta has to offer. So obviously, since Alberta is a much smaller province as compared to Ontario or BC and has a smaller population as well, so therefore it makes sense that Alberta has lesser number of jobs as compared to bigger cities of Toronto and Vancouver, and that's why you may not find the office of every big corporate or every big company of Canada in the cities of Alberta. The economy of Alberta has been traditionally dependent on just one industry, and that is the oil and gas industry. And generally speaking, Edmonton is known for government offices and government jobs, whereas Calgary is better known for a lot of corporate jobs and a lot of jobs related to business, accounting, finance, etc. But things are definitely changing now. There are a lot more tech companies who are opening their offices in Alberta, especially in Calgary. And because of this, a lot of new jobs are being created. And also because of the onset of remote work culture post-COVID, there are a lot of companies that maybe don't even have an office in Alberta, in Edmonton or Calgary, but they're still hiring a lot of remote employees from these cities and other smaller cities of Alberta. And a lot of these companies expect these people to work permanently remotely as well. So definitely things are changing, and they're changing for the better, and a lot more opportunities are present in Alberta today as compared to the past. And I think this trend is here to stay, and the number of jobs will continue to increase in Alberta. But depending on the profession that you are in and the experience that you have, you might find it a little more challenging to find a job in Alberta as compared to Ontario or BC. And because of this, it is extremely important that if you're planning to move to Alberta or move to a different province, that you need to do your proper research about the scope of your profession in Alberta, the type of job opportunities that are available there right now and in the future, and the type of salary that you will be able to get once you move there, because this one thing can greatly impact your decision of moving to Alberta and whether moving to Alberta or to any other province is actually right for you and your career or not. So that's it, guys. I hope now you have some clarity about Alberta and whether Alberta is actually going to be the right province for you or not. Let me know in the comments below what you like the most about the province of Alberta or about the province that you're currently living in, and would you even consider moving to Alberta or not. If you found this video to be useful, please make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel to watch more such videos about life in Canada, and I'll see you guys in the next video.